Good afternoon. It's Monday, January 19th. I'm Yumna Naufal. These are today's headlines. Iran confirms the death of its elite revolutionary guards in an Israeli strike on Syria that also killed 6 members of Lebanese group Hezbollah. The head of the Beirut Bar Association, George Shadej, announces a delegation of Syrian lawyers who assaulted their Lebanese counterparts at the Arab Lawyers Union conference in Cairo. And at least 2 people are killed and 14 others wounded as fierce clashes between soldiers and Shia Houthi rebels take place near the presidential palace in Yemen's capital. The Lebanese army and UN peacekeepers have intensified their patrols along the border with Israel as tensions are mounting over Israel's weekend strike on Syria's Golan Heights, which killed 6 Hezbollah members and a senior Iranian commander. Security sources say international troops backing Lebanese soldiers have been closely monitoring movements on both sides of the volatile border with night goggles and binoculars. Movement in the Jewish settlement of Metula, just a few miles from the Lebanese border, appeared to be very shy, with Israeli soldiers patrolling the inner streets, reflecting fears of a Hezbollah retaliation. Iran quickly denounced the Israeli airstrike and confirmed the killing of a top field commander, Abu Ali Tabtabai, during the attack. The website for Iran's Revolutionary Guard also confirmed that Brigadier General Muhammad Ali Al-Dadi was killed in what they called the Zionist helicopter attack while he was inspecting the Quneitra region. A Foreign Ministry statement said Iran expressed its sympathy and condolences to the families of those killed as well as to those who survived the terrorist act. The statement praised Hezbollah for its firm stance to continue on to the path of jihad and martyrdom against occupation and foreign interference in the affairs of other nations. For its part, Hezbollah said Jihad Mirniye, the son of slain Hezbollah top commander Imad Mirniye, was among those killed. Another Lebanese news: head of the Beirut Bar Association, George Shadej, denounced a delegation of Syrian lawyers who assaulted their Lebanese counterparts at the Arab Lawyers Union conference in Cairo in Egypt. Shadej declared it was an unprecedented phenomenon and expressed concerns over the acts of intimidation against one of the lawyers who was voicing his opinion, saying response is everyone's right and difference of opinion is sacred. He announced that head of the Arab Lawyers Union has decided to take measures to fire and punish those who have assaulted and beaten the Lebanese lawyers. The assault came following a speech by Fadi Saad, a lawyer from former Prime Minister Saad Hariri's Future movement, in which he criticized some oppressive dictatorships in the Arab world and made one remark that infuriated a portion of the crowd. Cell phone footage captured from inside the Cairo meeting showed a group of lawyers jumping from their seats and rushing at the speaker, with several altercations breaking out among the attendees. Health Minister Wael Abu Faoud is making headlines again. This time he declared that the health situation at the Rafiq Hariri International Airport is not improving since the food safety inspectors raided the facility back last month. Faoud spoke at the press conference saying he has sent a memo to the Minister of Transportation and Public Works to tackle the case. During the raid in December, Abu Faoud detailed the findings at the airport, describing the food storage areas there as a death chamber for citizens' health. Speaking on the case of the Syrian dealer who has been selling expired products, Abu Faoud says they have raided the restaurants that cooperated with the dealer and will closely monitor the passage of food from Syria to confiscate spoiled products. Abu Faoud also addressed the death of workers in the Beirut slaughterhouse due to cancer, saying it's unacceptable that workers at a state institution pass away without an investigation being carried out. Progress is being made in the case of the Arsel hostages after kidnappers of the Lebanese servicemen reportedly have approved a proposal to end this situation. The government says it is considering an offer. The proposal has been made by the deputy municipal chief of the northeastern border town of Arsel, Ahmed Fleiti, and Sheikh Mustafa al-Hujairi. Both have been acting as mediators between Lebanese officials and the militants who took the soldiers and policemen captive during a cross-border attack on Arsel in August of last year. However, the government has not officially tasked them with negotiating their release and has repeatedly said that General Security Chief Abbas Ibrahim is the only person entitled to negotiate on behalf of the Lebanese authorities. Sources say the government is close to accepting the proposal, although some obstacles remain. Lebanese religious laws discriminate against women and do not guarantee them their basic rights. This is according to a new report published by the Human Rights Watch, which reviewed all personal status laws in Lebanon and analyzed over 400 recent legal judgments issued by religious courts, finding that these religiously based laws particularly disadvantage women. The group found that all religious personal status laws impose greater barriers for women than men who wish to terminate unhappy or abusive marriages. The report says Lebanon has 15 separate personal status laws for its officially recognized religions, but no civil code covering issues such as divorce, property rights, or care of children. Coming up next, the European Union calls for a broad alliance with Arab countries to tackle terrorism. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the English news at 4:20 here on Future Television. At least 2 people have been killed and 14 others wounded as fierce clashes between soldiers and Shia Houthi rebels take place near the presidential palace in Yemen's capital of Sana'a. Heavy gunfire and explosions have been heard near the compound and the residence of the national security chief. The Houthis' TV channel reports the clashes erupted after troops fired on a rebel patrol. However, military officials say the Houthis provoked the attack by approaching military positions in the area and setting up their own checkpoints. The Presidential Guard has reportedly deployed reinforcements to the streets around the palace and outside the residence of President Hadi. Tensions between the government and the Houthis, which were already running high, escalated when rebels abducted the president's chief of staff this weekend. The EU's foreign policy chief, Federica Mogherini, is calling for a broad alliance to tackle terrorism, including Muslim nations, at a ministerial summit in Brussels, Belgium. Mogherini says there has to be more cooperation with both Muslim countries and internally within the EU. Arab League Secretary General Nabil Arabi is attending the talks along with the 28 EU foreign ministers.
We start with obviously a discussion on how to counter terrorism, not only in Europe but also in other parts of the world, being it the Mediterranean, being it Africa. I'm just having now, before we start, a meeting with the Secretary General of the Arab League, as the threat is not only the one we faced in Paris, but also spreading in many other parts of the world, starting from Muslim countries, and we need to strengthen our way of cooperating together.
Well, of course, we will all be determined to do what is necessary to keep Europe safe from the terrorist threat. We'll be talking about the challenge of extreme Islamism today and how we deal in our counter-terrorist response with it, and we'll be looking at some of the specific measures that will help to keep us safe, like passenger name records within Europe. So that's important. But we'll also be talking about Russia today and the need to maintain a unified and disciplined response in the face of continued Russian refusal to deliver on their commitments made under the Minsk agreement.
In similar developments, the EU says it will appeal a December court decision ordering the removal of the Palestinian group Hamas from the bloc's terrorism blacklist. Foreign ministers from the 28 EU member states have decided to appeal the decision after meeting in Brussels. Last month's ruling by the EU's second highest court said that the blacklisting of Hamas in 2001 was not based on sound legal judgments, but rather on conclusions derived from the media and the internet. Hamas spokesman Sami Abu Zuhri says the decision to appeal is an immortal step and reflects the EU's bias in favor of the Israeli occupation. Iran and major powers are to meet again next month to narrow the differences over Tehran's nuclear program after making limited progress just yesterday, as Washington lobbied to stave off fresh sanctions. All sides have agreed to step up efforts to reach a political understanding by the end of March and a full-blown deal by their self-imposed deadline of June 30th. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says that discussions have been serious and businesslike, although they still are trying to bridge the gap between the two sides. The negotiations, held at the level of political directors, capped 5 days of diplomacy in Geneva and Paris, including lengthy meetings between U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry and Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif. EU political director Helga Schmidt chaired the talks among officials from Iran, Britain, China, France, Germany, Russia, and the United States.
We had very extensive negotiations today. We reviewed all subjects on the table and we had very serious and business-like negotiations. It was very useful, and we decided to continue next time early February. The exact date and the place is to be fixed soon. But we had good discussion and negotiations today. We had also some bilaterals. We had with all European countries. We had with the Chinese delegation. Yesterday we had bilaterals with Russian and American delegations. It's too soon to say if we are able to make any progress or not. We are still trying to bridge the gaps between the two sides. We try our best, and as I have always said, as diplomats we are always hopeful.
Gunshots have been fired from a passing vehicle near U.S. Vice President Joe Biden's residence in Delaware, but the Vice President and his wife were not at home. The shots were fired on a public road several hundred yards from the house outside a security perimeter. Secret Service personnel at the residence heard the gunshots and saw the vehicle speeding away. Authorities say they will search the area to determine whether the Biden home has been hit by bullets. About half an hour after the shooting, local police arrested an individual in a vehicle that attempted to pass an officer who was securing the area. The individual is to be questioned by the Secret Service about the shooting. Talk show legend Oprah Winfrey and other stars of the Oscar-nominated movie Selma have marched with thousands of people in the Alabama city in honor of Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. That is today. Selma director Ava DuVernay, rapper Common, and actor David Oyelowo, who portrays Dr. King in the movie, also participated in the day-long events that commemorate King's civil rights leadership and the 50th anniversary of the historic march from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama. Law enforcement officers used clubs and tear gas on March 7, 1965 to try and stop marchers from walking some 50 miles to Montgomery to seek the right for blacks to vote. A new march led by Martin Luther King Jr. began March 21st of that year and arrived in Montgomery days later with a crowd of 25,000 people. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our headlines. Iran confirms the death of its elite revolutionary guards in an Israeli strike on Syria that also killed 6 members of Hezbollah. The head of Beirut's Bar Association, Georges Shadej, denounces a delegation of Syrian lawyers who assaulted their Lebanese counterparts at the Arab Lawyers Conference in Cairo. And at least 2 people killed, 14 other wounded, as fierce clash between soldiers and Shia Houthi rebels take place in Yemen's Sana'a. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television. Join us again tomorrow for all the latest. Yumna Naufal signing off. Good night.